mining towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we have Bob Savage with us.
We do? We do. Hi.
We do. Yeah, how was your weekend, Bob?
It was marvelous. Thanks very much. Missed the Bills yesterday. It's not Sunday afternoon without the Bills. Not that, by the way, I'm a big NFL fan these days, I got to say, or pro sports fan.
Yeah. How'd they end up doing? Did they
didn't
do
play.
Okay?
They didn't play.
Oh, they didn't play at all.
Well, yeah, they got a problem. The Tennessee Titans have had some COVID cases, and the game was pushed to Tuesday. I haven't checked right now to see what the status is. I don't know if that game is still on or not, because Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, is mad at the Titans because they were not observing COVID protocols. So there's the last scuttlebutt I heard was that they might forfeit.
Really? Wow. Now the Titans weren't the only team, right? Or I thought I heard another team couldn't play because of COVID. Oh,
yeah. No, there's a lot of that going on. Somebody else, who was it? Was the Patriots, I think, had a game that was pushed off. And then that was problematic for the Bills because then they were supposed to play Thursday, and now that game has been delayed to next Monday. But I don't know. I'll have to look up while we're on the air and see if I can get an update on the status of the Tuesday night game.
Yeah, there you go. So I think what you're saying is if the Bills can just hold out long enough and not get players having COVID, they might have a chance this year. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they're undefeated.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they're in first place in the AFC East. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, it would be ironic if the Bills made it to the Super Bowl and they did it with nobody in the stands. that would be kind of the poignant result of the long history of this franchise.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I gotta say, it's also been kind of strange for me seeing, clips here and there of sporting events, which I think we've talked about before, where the stands are either empty or they've got like cardboard silhouettes of fans.
Oh, that's ridiculous. It's also creepy. And then the other, like these afternoon chat shows like Ellen and all that stuff, they have these plinths that are sitting in the seat with what look like Zoom images on them with people moving around and dancing with. It's like, this is spooky.
Yeah. I was at I think I was at a restaurant or something like that last week, and there was a one of the pro wrestling matches was playing on one of the screens, and that's what they had. They just had walls and walls and walls of televisions or LCD screens, and the fans were there on Zoom, I guess, or something
virtually.
So you could see them. It was weird. That's for sure. But good for companies and corporations and entertainment venues for finding a way. Even though government is sitting here and forcing kind of a lot of oppression at this point, government's forcing this. The free market is still finding a way to connect people with entertainment, even though government has been shutting a lot of stuff down.
So moving along here, I know you got Joe Jorgensen coming on later on in the program, and that's kind of exciting. But I just had a Rasmussen poll I wanted to pass along to you here. The 2020 presidential election just got even more interesting with the revelation that out of the 20 million guns sold this year alone, with all the rioting and civil unrest that's been going on, the largest and fastest growing demographic of new gun owners is, drum roll, please. Just happen to have a drum here. Registered Democrats. This information comes from the Rasmussen poll via the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, CCRKBA. The focus of the poll was obviously to gauge whether or not these new gun owners, quote, feel safer or not with a gun in their home. The most important revelation in the survey, according to the CCR-KBA chairman Alan Gottlieb, is 39% of Democrats own guns. So that means that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are alienating a huge block of potential voters with their extremist gun control agenda less than a month before the November election. So there you go. And back to the Rasmussen poll. Very first line of the report reads, over 1/5 of Americans who have a gun in their household have added one since the Black Lives Matter anti-police protests began in late May, and they feel safer because they've done so. So it looks like the Dems are, out there crowing about gun grabbing at their own risk.
Yeah, and that was going to be my question: does the poll in fact say that they feel safer? And it sounds like maybe they do, which is kind of the purpose of having the right to defend yourself, is the idea that you can defend yourself, which therefore you can feel safer.
And by the way, it's not about race, which is what Biden and Harris are pushing here. The gun sales. If you're hoping to prove that the recent surge in gun sales was driven by racism, you're going to have to keep hoping. Again, from Rasmussen's poll, quote, white gun owner households are less likely than black and other minority ones who have added a gun since late May. Whites are also less likely than the others to feel more safe with a gun in the house, but more likely to say it has no impact on their personal safety. Yet Biden, Gottlieb says, wants to make it harder for honest citizens to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Harris is waiting in the wings with her own extremist agenda if Biden, should he win in November, is unable to finish his term, which, I would bet something on that.
Yeah. I mean, he's up there. That's for sure. Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me because I've spent quite a bit of time in gun shops. Obviously before COVID, but definitely when COVID hit and the government started shutting stuff down, I found myself spending a little bit more time in gun shops, even helping with security on occasion. And the vast majority of people who were coming in, especially when government started shutting things down, were minorities of all different types.
Is that right? Really?
Not any specific type of minority, but a significant number of minorities, even people who couldn't speak English very well. There were a lot of people coming into the shop really worried about their safety.
Well, that's very cool to hear. Glad to hear people are availing themselves of their Second Amendment rights. We have a Constitution for a reason, folks.
Yep. The unfortunate thing was I had to explain to so many of them, because what would happen is all the shotguns and rifles would sell out like instantly. The only thing that would be left would be handguns. And so I was there basically explaining to people that unless they had a pistol permit in New York State, they wouldn't be able to purchase a handgun. And they're like, okay, well, how do I get it? I explained the process, and you could see the kind of like fear and dread kind of like veil over their face as they realized, oh, so you mean it's going to be months and months before the government will get around to approving my right to defend myself? You mean there's a firearm here on the shelf that I can't buy today because of a government bureaucratic process, and I feel like I need to defend my family, and you're telling me I can't? Like you could kind of like see that in their eyes, and that like realization of how the New York State pistol permit process denied them that day the comfort and security of knowing that they could potentially protect their family.
Well, I'm somewhat startled to hear you say that you were providing security in a gun store that actually had stock, because my information is that nobody's got anything to sell. There's no ammo, there's no firearms. They've all been bought up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, it's been very hard for these gun stores to keep stuff in stock, and a couple of them actually heard from law enforcement that people were hoping to break in to steal what little there was. So that's kind of how that situation ended up. But yeah, it's a very interesting time. There are places you can definitely get stuff, but it is difficult to find. If you're looking for something specific, you might have to kind of like compromise and choose something that you're not as excited about right now, because inventory has been very, very difficult to get hold of. People are buying guns at a really, really, really high rate right now.
Yep,
and
record
they
setting.
have been since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, so as we wrap up this segment, because you got to get on to Ms. Jorgensen here, if 2020 has taught us anything, quote, this is from Gottlieb with the Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. He says the last 6 months have taught millions of people the importance of having a constitutional right to own a firearm. They've learned how restrictive and pointless some gun control laws can be. Now they're being asked by two anti-gun career politicians and their party for support so they can enact even more restrictions while they erode public safety and expect the American public to accept this as the, quote, new normal. By the way, saw a gray lines, a lawn sign over the weekend. No new normal. I hate that phrase. No wonder people are buying guns, says Gottlieb. They're praying for the best, preparing for the worst. That Democrat Party bumper sticker, every bit as true today as it was 41 years ago. When guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. Good words to live by, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, if I can get this thing to fire up. Oh, there we go. We'll have some bumper music, and on to the next segment here of Radio Free New York, Andrew.
All right, we'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Escape from the everyday to a getaway at Woodcliff Hotel and Spa. Woodcliff features elegantly appointed accommodations, creative cuisine, themed suites, full-service spa Elan, and is Rochester's best venue for outdoor wedding receptions overlooking the city skyline. Woodcliff Hotel and Spa, where the experience is extraordinary. Located in Fairport, call 585-381-4000 or visit woodcliffhotelspa.com.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and today we have Dr. Joe Jorgensen on the phone. She is running for President of the United States on the Libertarian line. Dr. Jorgensen, welcome to the show.
So glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah. So glad that you're here. I wanted to give you the chance to, share a little bit about yourself with the people here in New York who are listening on the radio, and give you a chance to just kind of tell them a little bit about yourself before we dive into politics, so they can get to know you.
Well, I have been a small business owner. I currently teach at Clemson University. And when people ask me, when did I become interested in politics, my answer is I'm still not interested in politics, that I'm here as self-defense because government has gotten too big, too bossy, too nosy, and too intrusive. But the worst part is they usually end up hurting the very people they try to help. So I'm here as a true outsider trying to help.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you had mentioned you're a small business owner?
I have been, yes. I owned a disc duplicating company in the 90s. And before that, I did outside, I basically sold computer software in the 80s because my first job out after getting my MBA was to work for IBM. I worked in National Marketing Division. And I later received a PhD in industrial organizational psychology. So kind of, basically a business psychology degree. And then I currently teach and do some outside consulting.
Awesome.
With businesses.
So you've got a pretty good idea then about what government regulations do to small businesses, and you've got a good feel for that, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. And I know how much time and effort goes into a small business trying to keep up with the paperwork. And in fact, one time I complained with somebody from the IRS who was calling about something, and I said, well, and this was in the 90s, of course. Things are a little different now, but in the 90s I said, well, maybe we could compete with Japan if I didn't have to do all this paperwork. And my then business partner reminded me, yeah, you might not want to say that to them, but it does get very frustrating. And, I had a college degree. I could afford a lawyer. I could afford tax accountants. And what is really heartbreaking is seeing how these people, the poor and minorities who are trying to get onto the first ladder are struggling because they don't have a lot of the resources that some of us do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's actually a really good segue into what would your top 3 priorities or top 3 policies be if you made your way into the White House after this year's election? What are the top 3 things that you would want to address? And you could tell us a little bit about each one.
Sure. Well, the first one, because I can do this on my own without Congress, would be to bring the troops home and turn America into one giant Switzerland, armed and neutral. So we do need a strong national defense. However, there's no reason why we should be paying for other people's defense. We keep hearing how great France is, that they've got 5-week vacations. Well, maybe we'd get 5-week vacations too if we weren't paying for their military and everybody else's military. And, the worst part is it wouldn't be so bad if it were just the economic side, the cost of it. What's even worse is that it's making us less safe, not more safe, being everywhere around the world, as we saw with 9/11. And the second thing I think is very important is, and I would actually, this would almost be my first issue, but I would have to work with Congress on this, but we got to fix our healthcare system. And if there's one message I could get to every single American voter out there, is that we do not have a free market system. We keep hearing politicians blame the free market system for our problems, saying that therefore we need a single payer. But we haven't had a free market system since at least World War II. And we need to, if we were to institute a free market system, then we would solve a lot of these problems. In fact, if you look, the only 2 fields in our country that are somewhat free market are LASIK surgery, LASIK eye surgery, and cosmetic surgery. And prices have gone down dramatically, and quality's gone up because there's competition out there. People have to compete on price and quality. We don't have competition in the rest of it. And if you don't mind, I'd like to mention one other problem that we have with our healthcare system. And I think the main problem is that our insurance really isn't insurance at all. So imagine if your car insurance paid for gas, oil, and car washes. First of all, you'd have absolutely no reason to shop around for the best gas price. In fact, you might even go to the fanciest gas station because you simply whip out your $5 copay, card. What do you care what it costs? And then the gas stations, therefore, would have no reason to compete on price. In fact, they could raise prices without you even knowing it because they simply pass the cost on to the insurance companies, and then the insurance companies would simply raise our premiums the next year. And that's the spiral we've got going on in healthcare, and we've got to stop it. And if we go to a single payer, as they're suggesting, it's going to get even worse because there will be even less accountability. And when I hear them say we need Medicare for all, what I think is, or what I hear them say is VA hospital for all. I'm not sure why these people who are so against monopolies all of a sudden think it's a great idea to have a healthcare monopoly. And that's
I totally agree.
Yeah.
We talk about that all the time here in New York and how VA for all is not an ideal situation.
Oh, exactly. Now, where it does work, not VA for all, but where healthcare does work is in Singapore and the state of Indiana, who has instituted a program in which, for the state employees, they actually put dollars in their pockets, and then they have real insurance. And we've seen, well, for instance, in the state of Indiana, before they instituted the program, which, by the way, was voluntary, and only a handful of people joined to begin with, but then by the second year, something like 75% joined because they realized what a great program it was. But before they started, only 10% of the drugs bought were generic, which, it's about what you would expect because you never spend other people's money as well as you spend your own. But in just a short time, it went to 90% of the drugs were generic. And the best part is the people were happy to do it because they got to keep the savings. And, that's the way it should be. If you shop around for cheaper groceries or a cheaper price on a car, you get to keep the savings. And that's the way it should be in healthcare. So what I would do is I would put dollars into the pockets of veterans and let them decide how and where and why to use them because they certainly deserve more than what they've gotten.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. So we've got bringing troops home, healthcare system. We've got about 3 minutes left. What's number 3 for you?
Well, I've got a lot tied, but what we need to do is we've got to put decision-making power. Overall, we got to put decision-making power back into the hands of the Americans. And I've been telling voters everywhere I go that you know better how to spend your money. You know better what you need than any politician or bureaucrat in Washington, and that they need to that we need to return all not only monetary decision making, but also decisions about do they wear a mask or not. And basically, I'd like to have a vote with your feet, vote with your dollars. So, for instance, right now we've got one size fits all, we all wear masks. Well, how about having a system in which if you want to wear a mask, you can go to a store like Walmart or many of the other stores that followed suit. And if you don't want to wear a mask, you go to another store that doesn't have a mask policy. So for education, if you want your kid to go to a school with prayer, you keep your resources and you can go out and you can find your place. The other instance, if your neighbor doesn't want to send his kid to a school with prayer, he doesn't have to. And we let people keep their own decision-making power and not the bureaucrats.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the way I think it should go. Sounds pretty libertarian to me. Guys, you are listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a brief break, and then we'll be back with Dr. Joe Jorgensen, who's running for president on the Libertarian line this year in 2020. We'll be back in a moment.
Because you're not sheep. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. For today, we'll see increasing clouds, slight chance of a shower this afternoon. Most of the day is dry. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s. For tonight, we'll have some showers likely in the low 50s on your Tuesday. A morning shower, then some sun in the afternoon. Temperatures in the 50s, nice weather Wednesday. Partly sunny in the mid-60s. I'm Rich Canilia, WYSL.
At Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Anthony Drive off Route 96 in Victor, they're celebrating Jeep's 80th anniversary with Adventure Day savings. For a limited time, lease a 21 Jeep Gladiator Sport 4x4, $279 a month for 42 months. A 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 is just $299 a month for 42 months. Lease a 2020 Jeep Renegade 4x4, only $189 a month for 36 months. Or a Jeep 2020 Compass Latitude 4x4 is $249 a month for 36 months. Jeep, America's iconic four-wheel drive brand, and Victor's got a great selection. Shopping for a pickup? Victor's got lease deals on the Motor Trend Truck of the Year, Ram. Lease a 2020 Ram 1500 Classic Warlock 4x4 for just $199 a month for 36 months. Be sure to get full details from the dealer. Equipment and MSRP vary by model. We're here to fully serve Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and throughout the Metro and Finger Lakes. Shop with confidence and safety and full CDC compliance. Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 6560 Anthony Drive in Victor.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whenever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
It's harvest time, fall, and hunting season is upon us. Springwater Amish Workshop is ready to welcome you at 7936 Mill Street, Springwater, to find the hidden scarecrow. A scarecrow's hidden at our store. If you find it, you qualify to enter your name for a weekly drawing, no purchase necessary. While here, see the new hunting blind featuring quiet glide windows, full insulation, and smart siding exterior. The store is full with other goodies as well at Springwater Amish Workshop. Find the scarecrow starting October 4th. Open Monday and Wednesday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 3. SpringwaterAmishWorkshop.com, 7936 Mill Street in Springwater.
The Livingston County Department of Health wants you to know about free, low-cost, and safe ways to receive critical and life-saving health screenings. Health professionals recommend all adults over 50 get screened for colorectal cancer. All women 40 plus receive regular breast exams, and all women over age 21 receive cervical cancer screenings. For more information, visit the Livingston County Department of Health at www.livingstoncounty.us or call the Cancer Services Program of the Finger Lakes at 1-877-803-8070. Free and low-cost options are available for those who qualify. Health providers have put measures in place to keep patients safe. Schedule your life-saving screening today.
Geneseo Hardware and Rental has a new expanded location on Route 28, east of the village of Geneseo. Over 6,000 square feet with a large selection of plumbing, electrical, home and garden, and much more. Geneseo Hardware offers Valspar paint, a wide selection of rental items, plus screen and window repair. Get personalized service at the new, bigger location. Geneseo Hardware and Rental, Route 28 next to Wegmans Plaza. Visit geneseo-rental.com.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, a locally owned and operated gun shop specializing in pre-owned firearms and repairs. Get your rifle, shotgun, or pistol serviced and tuned before you take it to the field. Open Tuesday through Saturday. Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, East Main Street, next to the Bank of Castile.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right. Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We have Dr. Jo Jorgensen on the phone, who's running for President of the United States in the 2020 election. She is running on the Libertarian line, and we've got a couple of comments that have come in on social media, one of which by Nate on YouTube, who says, voting Jorgensen is necessary in New York to fight back against Cuomo. We need to keep the ballot access for the Libertarians. Jericho on Facebook says, yes, go Joe. So, Joe, we've got some excitement coming in here, and I've got a couple questions for you. Number one being, if elected, how are you going to work with Democrats and Republicans to get things done?
Well, my short answer is I'm a teacher, and I know how to handle problem students. My longer answer is, unlike Ronald Reagan, I wouldn't simply sign every budget that came my way, no matter, since he made government bigger every year and happily signed anything they sent him. What I would do is I would send a budget back that wasn't balanced and that didn't cut spending. And they could override me, but it would be, I'd make them work for it. If they sent me 20 budgets that weren't balanced, I know how to grade an F paper. I would tell them that's an F, take it back, do it again. But overall, I think I would appeal to their self-interest and point out that their constituents voted me as president, and if they want to keep their soft, cushy, high-paying jobs, then they should probably follow my lead if they want to get reelected.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. Another thing that kind of goes along with that is, as they send things over to you that don't align with your values, what things do you anticipate using the power of the veto on? Well,
of course, anything that any budget that doesn't include what I want or that includes too much, and anything that goes against the Constitution. I think we've got way too many laws, we've got way too many agencies, and we need to cut government back to where it should be, what our founding fathers intended it to be. And you know what? I think we'd get along a lot better if we did get the government back to where it should be. And before the break, I was mentioning how we have to battle it out to get the kind of school we want, that, with libertarians, you can choose your kind of school and your neighbor doesn't. Well, I think part of the reason that our country is so divided right now is because we do have to battle it out over everything. We've got to battle it out over what kind of education. We battle it out over vaccines, over health care, and everything like that. And wouldn't it be great if we could make our own choices and then maybe get along with our neighbor? I mean, imagine what it would be like if we all had to vote on whether we're vegetarians or steak eaters. And that's about where it's come with some of these personal decisions. So I want to get back to where we can live peacefully with our neighbor because we're not running everything through government.
Yeah, no, that sounds wonderful. And I know we've talked about healthcare a little bit, but something we didn't talk about is student debt. What are your thoughts on student debt? Do you have a plan in place for student debt? Is that something that government should or shouldn't be involved in? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I say part of the reason I'm running for office is that the government usually hurts the very people they're trying to help, and this is a perfect example. People could find a way to go to college most of the time. That might have been a struggle, but now it's nearly impossible with the prices because the federal government gets involved they start handing out a lot of money, and then what happens? The colleges all raise their tuition prices. So one thing we need to do is allow it to be bankruptable. In other words, right now, if you get in over your head, you buy too nice of a car or house or whatever, credit card debt, you can declare bankruptcy and erase a lot of these things from your record. You can't do that with student loans. And, notice how the government, they think it's okay for us to erase our debt for other things, but, student loans, that's special because that's theirs. And we need to get rid of that government loan money so that prices will go back down, so that colleges will have to go back to competing on price the way they did before.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So kind of the same idea as healthcare, which is an actual free market approach, will drive down the cost of education, kind of take care of the student debt crisis itself. Um, what are your thoughts on congressional term limits?
Yes, I am on the side of them, but I'm not making it a big issue because I think that's more the symptom of the problem and not the problem. As long as we have money and power in Washington, there are going to be people who are going to chase after it. So we got to get rid of that money and power so that people aren't going after it. Because even if we have term limits, now we'll have the parties using their power to move people around like pawns. So we'll still have people going after it. So we need to fix the core problem, which is that government has too much power, and that much power lying around is just too dangerous.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of just too much government power, looking at the government's response to COVID, I know some of it is state, some of it's local, a good amount being federal too. What are your thoughts on how the federal government would look with a Jorgensen presidency in terms of the economy and a response to COVID?
Well, it'd look a heck of a lot different because the first mistake that Trump made was not getting rid of the FDA obstacles that kept us from being tested. We needed to get tested to know who could stay out there and work and who needed to stay home. And we had to shut down our economy and lose tens of millions of jobs. And there were dozens of testing kits that we could have used. And instead, the FDA and CDC, between the two of them, they only allowed us in the beginning to just use two of them. Meanwhile, countries around the world were using all these other testing kits and getting ahead. For instance, South Korea had their first coronavirus case within about a day of ours. But they quickly jumped ahead in testing, and they were able to pretty much eradicate COVID without locking down their economy. So we would have a much more prosperous economy. And now we're talking about, well, let's have government hand out the money. Well, again, that just shows the special interest portion in that who are they giving the money to? A lot of big corporations. I want the people to be able to keep their money and let them spend it where they want to. So let them spend it at the local mom and pop store, which, by the way, was forced to stay closed due to the government, while the larger chains were able to stay open.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I know that we've only got about 2 minutes left here, but I'm sure people are listening and they're thinking, "Oh, this is interesting to me. Maybe I want to find out more information. Maybe they want to learn more about you. Maybe even volunteer on your campaign." What is the best way for people to get a hold of you, learn more about you, and maybe contribute?
Yes, please go to joe20.com. That's JO20.com. And I'd like to point out that after the presidential debate, our website slowed to a halt. There were so many people checking us out. After watching the debate, they were like, oh my gosh, these are my only two choices. Is there anybody else out there? And also you mentioned volunteers. This is pretty incredible. Pretty much from the start, about 75% of our volunteers have been from outside the party. A lot of people are saying, I just don't like the two choices. And we keep hearing we've got two old rich white guys. I would suggest that that's the least of the problems. The biggest problem is Both of them want to spend your money. Both of them want to make your decisions. Neither one has an answer to the crushing healthcare costs, and neither one will bring the troops home. So that's why they didn't want me on the stage, because I would be the only true alternative. But people are checking us out now after seeing the choices they have.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've heard many people say that exact statement where they say, "Is there anything else?" And you're right. Immediately after the debate, that's when I got so many of those questions, because I think that the American people, they want to feel like there's maybe a little more substance going on at the very least, let alone all the questions they have and the things they want answers to.
Exactly. And if I were on that debate stage, I would actually answer the questions.
Yeah, I bet you would. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. It was a pleasure having you. And give us the website one more time.
Sure. It's joe20.com. That's JO20.com. And we would love to have you check us out and volunteer or donate. And please vote for me in November. I'd appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, you are listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take our last break of the hour. We'll be back in a moment.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right. Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and Bob is back with us.
Yes, I am. Enjoyed the interview with Joe Jorgensen. Illuminating, I have to say.
Yeah. No, she had some of the things that she said I really appreciated, especially when it came to discussing healthcare specifically and how bad this idea of a single payer system would be, and how government regulation has already made it so hard for us to actually have an open free market approach.
Oh, let's make no mistake about it. That is the way which Washington is pushing so hard for that. They really want basically what amounts to ownership of us. And once there's no option, once there's no private option, what they will do is they will outlaw private self-funded medical care. You know, it'll be just like Obamacare. You will be forced onto it, and it'll become, like it is in England, the national health. I mean, do a Google search and read the national health plan in England. It's a horror show.
Yeah, and I can just imagine how healthcare would change for the worse when that happens. First and foremost, say goodbye to at least another 10 to 30% of your paycheck, because it's going to cost, I'm thinking at least a minimum of a 20% probably increase in income tax to cover that. And then the quality is going to drop so badly because you won't have a chance to negotiate anything. And what'll happen is you'll have the single payer option, which will be, kind of like VA for all. It's not going to be great. It's going to be mediocre. It's funny. Occasionally, I'll be with doctors who joke around and stuff, and they'll ask me the question. They'll say, "Well, Andrew, what do you call a doctor who graduated last in his class?" And I don't know. Doctor. That's what you call the doctor who graduated last in class. So at least today, you have that option where you sit there and go, you know what? I do want a doctor who did well. I want a doctor who comes well recommended. Maybe I want to pay a little bit more for that. That's an option you have today, even with as bad as healthcare is. You switch to single payer, you might not even have that option. You're just going to get a government assigned doctor, and that's about all you get. And of course, there'll be a second class for healthcare, which will be those who can afford to pay for the absolute best. It'll be cash out of pocket. Only the very wealthy will be able to afford them. And it'll be its own separate system for those who can afford that level of service. The rest of us will be stuck with mediocre at best service, and it won't be good.
Yeah, the elites, our betters, the people in government who run everything, they will always have access to great health care. We will not have access to that. And in fact, they will outlaw that in any private form for us, because if there's an escape route, nobody's going to sign on for the defective, overpriced, stupid, life-threatening health care. So that's the way that's going to go. And, again, let's go back to the comparison with the VA, which has, come under tremendous criticism in recent years. Now, the boosters of the Veterans Administration and the medical care that they provide through the VA point to vast improvements in recent years. Yes, there have been great improvements, but that is not an argument in favor of the public sector when it comes to providing health care, because the only impetus for the improvement of the VA in recent years has been the threat that the whole thing will be disbanded and turned over to the private sector. If the private sector no longer exists, at least in terms of medical care, that threat is not going to exist. That fulcrum won't be there to provide the necessary pressure for us to get better health care through the government provided system. It's just not going. And plus, there's no incentive for our betters, for our rulers in government, to provide us with better health care, because where are we going to go?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you're thinking that maybe this is extreme, or it won't happen that way, that's not going to be the case. Look at Obamacare. Look at the Affordable Care Act. They made it illegal to not have health insurance.
Exactly.
Now, it's not like you're going to jail, but you get fined and penalized as an American citizen if you live in this country and don't comply with that law.
Yeah. If you think this can't happen, turn the clock back 10 years. And if somebody in 2008, maybe 2005, maybe longer than 10 years, told you, yeah, you're going to be required under law, thanks to a decision by the Supreme Court of the United States, to have health insurance, you'd say, you're nuts. That's unconstitutional. That can't happen.
Yeah, and if you look at just a lot of things today, the thought that government could require you to purchase a service, it alone is bad enough. But we saw it with car insurance, and car insurance didn't get cheaper. That's what everybody keeps saying is, oh, well, when everybody has health insurance, it'll be cheaper. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it with car insurance. Then they implemented the Affordable Care Act, and guess what? It wasn't affordable. Rates went up significantly. Coverage dropped terribly. Most people I know just have one of those catastrophic, high deductible plans that cost them thousands of dollars a year and will only kick in and cover anything if they get like ran over by a bus. So, this thought that government should manage more of it and we could switch to a single payer system and somehow that would be more affordable and better. History is telling me something different.
No, it's just common sense. Just think about this for a minute. So you have a healthcare system that is operating currently like we had circa 2010. And now what we're going to do is we're going to load a bunch of government mandates onto that. You got to provide coverage for this. You got to provide coverage for that. Got to, it's all mandatory. One size fits all, top down, cookie cutter approach. We are going to extend coverage to all kinds of people who currently don't have it. And on top of that, we're going to layer on a government bureaucracy to administer the whole thing. And somehow it's going to be cheaper. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. And it is very difficult to hear people sit there and say, you know what would fix the problem that government created? More government. More government will make this better.
Right.
And
yeah, vote for me. I'll fix it this time.
Yeah.
I haven't fixed it in 47 years, but this time I really mean it. I'm going to fix it.
Yeah, if government was going to fix this problem, we wouldn't be talking about fixing this problem. Government has had their chance to fix this problem for decades, and every step of the way they take, every way we go, it costs us more, the quality gets worse. And it's just this repeat cycle of costing us more, quality gets worse, constantly, time and time again.
Yep. Time for change, folks. We have to, by change, I'm not talking about, picking the red team or the blue team. I'm talking about consciously engaging in a push to reduce the size, influence, and intrusiveness of government. And, I'll tell you some place where you can start. Start with your school board. Start with your zoning board. Start with your local government. Start with your county government. Get involved and start demanding the things that you know are best for your children, for your families, for your livelihood, and for this country. Because it's, if you get involved in this ESPN fight, between one team versus the other team, all you're going to get is more of the same. It's just going to perpetuate.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, and I'm so glad you mentioned local because that's number one for me too. If you want to see change in this country, start with your town, start with your village, start with your school, and show and bring about that change. So then the next time you can go a step bigger. Now maybe it's your county, then a step bigger. Maybe it's your assembly district, and then a step bigger. Maybe it's your region, and then your state. And then maybe we can have a country where we're not sitting here feeling so sour about our taxes and healthcare and everything else. Maybe we can sit back and be like, yeah, we brought about some amazing change. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Radio Free New York. We will be back, same time, same place, tomorrow.